ProbStats kids, this is Dr. Callahan for week 6, Monday. How are you guys doing? Go ahead and pause the video and answer the following 3 questions. Make sure you have your warm-up log completed. All right, let's go ahead and create your assignment on MS Teams. So keep in mind that every day or every week you get 2 grades. 1 grade for when you are participating in class and the other grade for when you are participating online. It's 50-50, and so just keep in mind that if you don't check in with me, that's going to be problematic because you're not getting enough percentage back to actually raise your grade. So just make sure you are uploading your assignments online as well. So this is going to be for week 6, Monday, ProbStats. And today's topic that we're going to be talking about is going to be as follows. Today we're going to have a quick little assessment, and also we're going to start our new section on correlations and correlations. So you're going to have your assessment and intro to okay, and there are 2 classes, so let's make sure we include the other class in addition to this. And this is due by Monday, 3 p.m. And assign. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and continue on with this. So last time I saw you guys, you did have a little bit of textbook homework. So here are the answers for that. It was for section 7.1 or 7.3 for numbers 4 to 8 evens and number 6. All right, let's take a look at the breakdown for today. Your homework tonight is going to be for number 2, 14 or 4 to 14 all, and also number 20. All right, so first thing I'm gonna have you guys do is gonna go ahead and go to this link right here, watch a video how to effectively study for school or college, and I want you to list 5 skills from the video itself. When you're done with that, I want you to go ahead and answer the student questionnaire, which is right here. Now, if you are doing this online, make sure you just write your answers on a separate piece of paper. And go ahead and pause the video to answer the following 4 questions for your quiz. If you're having some difficulty with the question here for the 4 assessments, what we can do is we can go over a separate piece of question right here, and we can go ahead and talk about this. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 5. Remember, there are 6 steps that's affiliated with this. All right, it says a fast food outlet claims the mean waiting time of line is less than 3.5 minutes. A random sample of 60 customers has a mean of 3.6 minutes with a standard deviation of 0.06 and an alpha level of 0.05. Test the fast food outlet claim using the critical values and rejection region. So remember with this one, you guys have several different steps with this. And I actually just realized that I didn't move the steps over. So just give me a second so I can do that. Okay, so looking at this, let's go over the steps. Number one, you need to go ahead and establish the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. So I'm going to put null and alternative hypothesis. Okay, the claim on this is the line that you're waiting for is going to be less than, so less than 3.5 minutes. That's the claim. So that's also going to be the alternative hypothesis. So this is going to be the mean wait time is less than 3.5 minutes. Now, the null hypothesis, oh, I'm sorry, hold on a second. Just kidding, I wrote this incorrectly. Now, this claim is actually your null hypothesis. So your wait time is going to be less than or equal to 3.5 minutes. Your alternative is going to be your wait time is greater than 3.5 minutes. Step 2, let's go ahead and find the degree of freedom. So that's 16 minus 1, that's 59. In addition, your alpha level, which is alpha level, which is 0.05. Your mean, which is 3.5, and then your x bar, which is going to be the actual tested mean, which is 3.6. Now that I have these components, I go plug this into my step 3. So t is equal to x bar minus u over the standard deviation divided by n. So that will be 3.6 minus 3.5 divided by standard deviation in this situation, I forgot to include it here, is 0.6. So 0.6 divided by the square root of n, which is 60 customers they tested. First thing you want to deal with is the numerator. 3.6 minus 3.5 is a 0.1. Square root of 60 is going to give you a decimal, so take that decimal and divide it into 0.6. That should give you this number here. Divide the two together, you get 1.29 as your t value. So then from that, we're going to go ahead and find the rejection zone. You know that this is going to be 0. And I need to go ahead and figure out where the rejection zone is for the reject the null hypothesis versus not reject the null hypothesis. So looking at this right here, I don't even know where this number is going to be yet. So we're just going to go ahead and keep it as is for now. I'm just going to box it. And let's go ahead and take a look at the z tables. So here it is. It is one-tailed, so the alpha level is 0.05. Degree of freedom is 59. Well, that's kind of a problem because I only have 60. So your degree of freedom is going to be very, very similar to 1.671. So going back to this, I would say that if this is 1 and this is 2, standard deviation, that 1.671 will be right here. This is 1.671. And you want to go ahead and color these two regions. So everything on the left side is colored orange, or sorry, yellow. And everything on the right side, let's go ahead and color that as green. So within these two regions, they represent different things. Everything on the left of the yellow part is going to be the reject the null hypothesis region, and the green part is going to be the fail to reject the null hypothesis region. So then with your 1.29, that is going to fall into right here. So what does that mean? That means you fail to reject the null hypothesis that, I'm sorry, it is not fail. That means you reject the null hypothesis that the mean takes less than 3.5 minutes because your food is going to take more than 3.5 minutes to have it ready, which makes sense because I'm like, when do you ever go to fast food and they take 3.5 minutes? Usually like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So anyways, that's how you will go about testing that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next question for number 6. Pause the video and try this one on your own. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this example here. So again, we're going to be using the 6 different steps, and the prompt here says the average life of a fluorescent light bulb is 1,000 hours. A homeowner used 40 different light bulbs to find the mean life to be 990 hours with a standard deviation of 80 hours. Test the manufacturer's claim at 0.05. So with this slide, you want to label the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis, okay? Well, given the fact that the claim is saying that the lifetime of the fluorescent bulb is 1,000 hours, that means it is going to be at least 1,000 hours, okay? So your null hypothesis is that the lifetime of the light bulb is going to give you at least 1,000 hours of use, okay? Now your alternative hypothesis is opposite of that. So the light bulb is going to be less than 1,000 hours of use. I mean, I'm sure these companies will love to say that, oh yeah, trust our product, it's going to last forever, but in fact, it doesn't, it falls short. So your alpha level here is 0.05. Degree of freedom, there are 40 light bulbs used, so 40 minus 1 is 39. Your average mean is 1,000, but your X bar, which is the actual mean after being tested, is 990. Your standard deviation is 80, and your sample size is 40. Okay, so then with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at step number 3. Step 3 is the one that requires a bit of work because it is the one also with the formula. So X bar, which is 990, minus U is going to give you negative 100. Don't forget your denominator. Your denominator is going to be 80 standard deviation divided by the sample size, and the sample size is 40. So looking at this right here, what is the square root of 40? And then divide that into 80, 12.649. If you divide it two all together, you should get a negative 0.791. And that is your t-score. For step number 4, we're going to go ahead and draw our picture here. Oh goodness, why does it keep doing that? Sorry. And when I go ahead and draw this, what we're going to do is we are going to label this as 0. But then step 5, you also have to look at the table to find your value. So let's take a look at the table. You do know that this is at a 0.05 alpha. Your degree of freedom is going to be out of 39. Well, here's 40, so yours is going to be just a little bit smaller than that. So it should be 1.684. So here is 1, here is 2, 1.684 is going to be right here. It's 1.684. Now you want to color the two different regions. Yellow will be the rejection zone, reject the null hypothesis, and the green area is the fail to reject the null hypothesis. Well, given the fact that your region is at -0.7, this definitely falls into step 6, which is the conclusion. You can basically say that you reject the null hypothesis. So reject the null hypothesis that the average area or average life of a light bulb is 1,000 hours, because the average of a light bulb is actually less than 1,000 hours. And the manufacturer claim is wrong. All right, guys, with that said, go ahead and take your quiz. Make sure you have that completed. And we're going to move on to the next chapter. So for the next chapter, it's going to be on 9.1, which is going to be on correlation. And with correlation, we're going to go over a few things. This chapter is basically going to be talking about relationships between variables that are measured on the same individual, okay? Responsive variable, the dependent variable in the study that measures the outcome. Explanatory variable is X, which is the independent variable that influences changes in response variable. Let's take a look at an example. For example, for each situation, decide whether the variable is explanatory and which is response. Okay, so make sure you have a highlighter. Now, when it comes to the response, this one is going to be your Y value, which is going to be the result of the change. So something's changing. The change is going to be the explanatory, which is the X value, and that affect change. So for example, the numbers of hours studying for exam, so hours of studying for exam, and then the grade on the exam. You know that your grade is going to be the result, right? Yeah. And then X is going to be the hours studying for the exam, because it's assumed that if you study more hours on the exam, chances are you probably do better. B, the amount of saturated fat in a person's diet and the person's weight. Saturated fat and weight. So obviously X is going to be the saturated fat, because the more fatty food you eat, chances are if you don't exercise, you will be prone to gain weight. Next one, yield of the crop. So the amount of things that you get from the crop, and rainfall. So this one, if you guys take a look at that, is actually a little bit backwards. And the reason why it's backwards is because depending on how much rainfall you receive each year, the amount of crop is dependent on the amount of water the plant receives. So it's kind of backwards. And I just realized that I used a different coloring system. So sorry about that. This is the person's weight and saturated fat. All right, you guys, that's basically it. Something very simple. Make sure you guys do your homework. As always, stay safe and healthy. Take care.